The IT band, it's got to be the bane of runners' existence. It's probably the most common non-traumatic injury there is for runners. It's what's going to take you out of a race and cause you to DNF. It's going to be the injury that'll make you walk way too much towards the end of a race. And it may even take you out of the race completely because you weren't able to train because you got the injury and you're out. So, I'm Nick Cronin from Lafitte Running. I'm a physical therapist with 15-ish years of experience and 10 years of ultra running experience. And today we're going to talk about what the IT band is, what causes injuries to it, what to do about the injury, and how to prevent it. This will probably be part one of a multi-part series because there's a lot of information here, and I don't want this to be a 45-minute video. So today we're going to start with what the IT band is and what causes injuries to it. I've learned over the years, the more you understand what something is and how it works, the better you can understand how to prevent it and how to treat it if it starts to happen. So, what the IT band is, what it is this, it's not a muscle, it's a band of connective tissue that supports and stabilizes the hip and the leg. It starts with this little muscle about right here called the TFL tensor fascia lata, which sounds more like a coffee drink than it does a muscle. I didn't name it. But it starts with this little stabilizing muscle, which is teeny. It's like yay big, and when you're doing dissections, you can barely even tell it's a muscle. So it's not strong. It's not capable of stabilizing anything. That's important to remember. It starts here, and it ends with this connective tissue that starts about right here, and it's this big band of connective tissue that goes all the way down to the lateral portion of the knee, down into the tibia, the shin, and it connects. And what its main job is, it's kind of like a support structure. It stabilizes and help ground your leg from your hip all the way to your knee. What it does not do is stabilize you on one leg and keep you from collapsing down. What it does not do is it does not help you bend your knee, and it does not help you raise a leg. It's mostly just a stabilizing structure. Think of it like a big tendon. The hard part of it is it's also a proprioceptor. It tells your brain where your leg is in space and helps you balance and helps you coordinate motion. The problem with that is it's laced in with a whole bunch of nerves up and down the leg. That's why if you've ever foam rolled on it, it hurts like hell because you are rubbing on those nerves, and if you get an injury on it, that's also why this is probably one of the more painful injuries in a runner's life, because what happens is this all gets tight and jointed and doesn't flow and move as easy, and it crunches up on those nerves and hurts like hell. So what happens is this muscle, the TFL, gets real tight, and then the connective tissue gets real tight, and what it's supposed to do is like a big rubber band, move back and forth while you're moving. And if it tightens down and it adheres to your quad and your hamstring and it clenches, then it becomes a stiffer rubber band. And because it's a stiffer rubber band, you can't move as easily through your range of motion while you're running, and you're stiffened up like that, pinching on a bunch of nerves, and next thing you know, you have a lot of pain. Where can this pain be? That's the fun part with an IT band. You think that the pain would be like right here in the lateral aspect of the thigh, just period. That's where the problem is, so that's where it hurts. And that does happen. Like a quarter of the time, that's where you're going to feel it. You're just going to feel real big tightness, probably one leg more than the other. Real tightness on the lateral portions of the thighs while you're running. Now I can't run. But that's not always the case. A lot of people do not feel it there. Instead, they think they have a knee injury. Oh no, I hurt my knee running. Well, what happened? Well, I was running and it felt fine. Did you fall? No, no, no falls. I didn't twist the knee. There was no pop, anything like that. Instead of running, and then gradually, I got this tighter and tighter pain right here on the outside of my knee. And my favorite way to describe this is it feels like somebody took an ice pick. I don't know why it's an ice pick. I don't know why it's a knife or anything like that, but everybody describes it as an ice pick right to the lateral portion of the knee, and it hurts like crazy right there on the outside of the knee. Why? Why? I don't know. I didn't twist it. I didn't do it. That's your IT band. What it is that connective tissue ends here, and that's gotten so tight that it's pulling on where it inserts into the knee. And so you got this big block of knee pain. That happened to me like 5-6 years ago. I had to actually quit training for a race and rehab for about 6 weeks because I felt fine. I had no problems until I started running. Once I started running, I just got this boatload of knee pain, and I could last maybe a half a mile before I had to stop running because it was just like 10 out of 10 knee pain when I was running. And there was no way to. It was probably one of the very, very few injuries I got where I had to just stop. Most of the time, I could kind of muscle around an injury and not ignore it, but ignore the pain while I was self-treating. But I was still able to treat the injury and keep running. This one, I had to just stop, and that's common for a lot of people. The other thing that happens to me now more on the regular is if I neglect my IT band and let it get a little tight, what happens is this band of connective tissue tightens up and it pulls my pelvis backwards like this. And whenever that happens, I get a boatload of low back pain and upper buttock pain. And so instead of presenting as knee pain or presenting as lateral thigh pain, I get a lot of back pain. And I've learned over the years, if I get back pain while I'm running, it's IT band. I foam roll out my IT band and I feel so much better. But it never was the leg. It was always the low back. So that's how weird IT band issues are, is the pain can present in these weird patterns that don't make a lot of sense unless you know the anatomy. So what causes IT band issues are a number of things. It's mostly either poor range of motion or poor strength. Poor range of motion, if it's usually with a little muscle right here, your hip flexor, called your iliopsoas. This little muscle is about right here, and if it tightens up, it's going to pull your pelvis forward like that and tilt you that way. And this allows the IT band to get tighter and tighter because your pelvis is tilted forward. Now the hip flexor isn't working as well, and one of the secondary motions of the IT band is hip flexion. So instead of relying on the primary muscle to lift your leg, you're relying on the secondary muscle. It's not designed for that. It doesn't do that, but because you're forcing it to do it, it gets tighter and tighter, and you get a maladaptive muscle doing what it's not designed to do. It gets pissed off, and now you got IT band issues. So the other thing that might cause it is your glutes, specifically your glute med. Your middle glute muscle is responsible for kicking your leg out to the side, but more importantly, the opposite is when you stand on one leg, it's the muscle that keeps you from collapsing down. It stabilizes you right here and keeps you from just falling back and forth while you're running. If this glute muscle, if your butt is not strong enough to do the job, you're going to rely on your IT band. And your IT band was not designed for that. So because of this tightness right here, it's going to keep you locked up. It's going to tighten up, and it's going to get worse and worse. And then next thing you know, you got IT band issues. So either A, your iliopsoas is too tight, B, your glute is not strong enough, or C, it's your hamstrings. Sometimes if your lateral hamstrings are way too tight, which is chronic in runners. Runners always have tight hamstrings. There's no way to get around it. If you run, you're going to have tight hamstrings. If you don't take care of that, same issue as the iliopsoas. It's going to tight hamstrings are going to pull your pelvis backwards, take away power from the hamstrings, power from the glutes, and now you're relying on the IT band again. And over relying makes a tight IT band. So all these issues are going to lead to tight IT bands. So if you're not flexible and if you're not strong in the hips, it's always the hips with physical therapy especially. All your power comes from your hips, all your balance comes from your hips. And if your hips are tight and if your hips are weak, you're going to have IT band issues. So that's what causes IT band issues. So what do we do about it? Well, my first advice is let's start with today, and this is how we're going to end the video, is I'm going to give you advice to do immediately during a race if you start getting IT band issues, or immediately after the race, how to treat an IT band issue. What to do day one or during the race. So during the race, what you got to do is release that IT band. There's nothing you can do about your flexibility in your hips during that time. There's nothing you can do about the strength of your glutes. So all we're going to do is just release that IT band and hopefully get a couple more miles in before it tightens back up. So during a race, just to be honest, you're going to be way too tired to foam roll. To ask somebody on mile 20 of a marathon, mile 30 of a 50-mile race, mile 70 of a 100-mile race, mile 10 of a half marathon to get in a plank position and roll back and forth over a foam roller to loosen up that is just way too much to ask. That person's exhausted. It's not going to happen. And to be honest, you don't really have to. So to treat an IT band issue that's locking up during a race, the best thing to do is either A, have one of these wonderful little sticks you can to kind of loosen up. B, you can use the heel of your hand right here. Or C, there's a great hamstring stretch I'll show you. For the stick, I love the little spinny thing. I don't know why, but it appeals to my weary little brain to just spin it. What you do is you get on because you get right where the IT band is. You don't get straight forward. You want to get on the outside of the leg. Straighten out your leg and lock it out. So just back here, and either you do it or you have the athletes lay down, and your crew or your guy at your aid station get right on top of that IT band and just go up and down, pressing as hard as you can through the IT band. And you know you're on a good spot whenever you go down and you feel like this tremendous tightness and pain right there. If it's you, enjoy the pain. If it's an aid station person doing it, or athlete, tell the person where that painful spot is. And here's the part where you can't be a wuss. Here's the part where you're enjoying the pain, because the best way to do it is think of it like a knot of I don't know, does dough, when you're making bread, does dough get a knot? I don't know. But think of it like if you're rolling out a piece of dough and you get to a knotty, tight portion of the dough. I don't make bread. I don't know. But you get on that tight little knot, and when you get right there and you focus on that one spot. You beat the crap out of that little knot of muscle and tendon until it loosens up. Hurts like all get out, but works beautifully. And then you find another knot. You go attack several knots. If you have a massage gun, even better. Find that little painful spot and just hold that massage gun right on there for about 30 seconds until it loosens up. So that's the first way. You can also do that with the heel of your hand, where you just right here on the hand, just get right there and push until you get to that one spot, and then you just go back and forth and just roll on top of that knot, just back and forth, pressing as hard as you can. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's one of the few times where usually as a PT, no pain, no gain. That's stupid. It hurts, don't do it. Never follow that saying. That's a stupid saying. If it hurts, pain is bad. Except when you're rolling out the IT band, if you find that painful spot, the more it hurts, kind of the better. Go ahead and press as hard as you can. The more you work on that, the harder you press through that muscle during a race, the more you're going to loosen it up. So just kind of dig in and enjoy the hurt. The other way to do it is a nice hamstring stretch, but you want a lateral hamstring stretch. And by lateral, I mean the outside of the hamstring. What you do is you put your leg on top of something if you can balance. If you're whooped and you can't, then just, get in a little triangle position like that. And you want to stretch the outside. So I'm going to kind of show you with my leg on my bench here. So you got the traditional hamstring stretch like this. You're just going straight forward. You should feel it on the back of the leg. If you really want to get the IT band portion of it, what you do is your goal is to unadhere the IT band off of the hamstring. So twist and lean into it like that. And what that does is that puts all the strain and pressure right here on the outside hamstring. It hurts like you wouldn't believe. It's great in the fact that it works well. It will definitely loosen that up. So hold that stretch for no bouncing. Stretching is never bouncing. Stretching is hold for about 60 seconds. You can do a couple of reps of that and loosen that up. If you're running, you can literally run, like I said in a previous video, from tree to tree. When you get to the next tree, put your leg on the tree stump, stretch it out, and then you probably get a couple more 100 yards. Get to the next one, stretch it out. You can kind of daisy chain down, stretching that out. As always, though, the best way to avoid an injury is prevention. So in another video, we'll talk about how to prevent it. My second video, though, coming up will probably be on what to do days after an IT band injury. So I'll probably go into how to treat it immediately and then how to start building up the structures in the hip to calm it down and keep it from happening again. So we'll do that in another couple of videos, but for today, that's what to do during a race if you have IT band issues. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you soon. There's supposed to be something about liking and subscribing, but in reality, mostly what I want is for you to share the video with anybody that has IT band issues. I'd rather them not happen to runners. Because to be honest, as a runner, as somebody competing against you, I want to run and compete against people in their physical prime. I don't want to beat somebody because they had an injury. I want to beat them because I'm faster and tougher. So, in reality, let's all work on this stuff so we can compete with each other and in the same dirt and the same sweat. So, have a great day. Enjoy your runs this weekend. I'll talk to you soon.